So normally we film exotic gardens in the height of the summer, and here we are on the east coast of England at my garden, Henstead Exotic Garden, and here we are just to show you the difference between the front and the back, where the actual garden, which is about 2.5 acres, is. At the front here we've got a typical sort of English, beautiful English scene, which across there is an area of outstanding natural beauty, and it leads onto sort of, here we have in front, we've got the hawthorn hedge, and 2 miles from where we're standing is the actual east coast sea, where the treacherous easterly wind, the word you don't want to hear ever is wind straight from Siberia, straight from off the sea. That's the kind of thing you don't want to hear, and this is the area that you really get it. So it's a complete contrast between the front here, and as we turn back round here we've got this giant yew hedge, which helps keep the cold nasty wind out of the exotic garden that leads beyond. You can see some of the plants that we planted. We only started this garden 10 years ago, so these palms, when they went in, had a trunk of about 8-9 inches, and now you can see the size of them. There's that big yew hedge I was talking about, and all this is south facing, so as we pan around we can see that the garden here is what we call a drought tolerant bit. This is all the sunny plants that require no water, so it's perfect for this particular time, which is 2012. And I like to keep the spiky plants separate from the big leaf plants. So this part of the garden is the gravel Mediterranean style garden, and right at the back of the garden you can see way in the distance is the big leaves and the gunnera and the things that are much more jungly, and the large, you see the bamboo waving in the wind, and the backdrop there is the native hedge, native trees in a woodland, the 10-acre woodland at the back there. So as we walk along here, sometimes people look at these plants, and one good question I got asked on open day was, is it high maintenance or low maintenance? And really, the plants would survive okay as it is, but when we come to prune these in the early spring, we end up taking off probably as many leaves as there are still on the plant. That's the way I describe it. So this particular Camirops here, which is the only European native palm, but native to the Mediterranean and not the UK, we've taken off hundreds of leaves off this, or 100 leaves, so just I like to have things looking quite good. So anything that looks a bit of a brown leaf, off it comes. So that's where the maintenance comes in. Further along here we've got this nice sort of sea of, this is sort of March time, so it just goes to show how the garden looks at this time of year. As I said before, a lot of exotic gardens don't come. A friend of mine went to quite a famous garden where they had a big exotic area, and he was disappointed to see in the end of May only one plant in the bed and everything else was in polytunnel. Well, here, as you can see, everything, what you see is what you get. Everything's out in the garden. This particular plant, we had 38 school children here recently, and this is a plant called the Spanish bayonet. Now obviously I had to keep my mouth shut as to what this was, because I think we'd had 38 kids hanging off this if I told them it was the world's most dangerous plant. Moving along here, some exotic garden purists sort of say to you things like, oh look, you've got euphorbias and you've got foxglove seedlings and various things like that, but you know, we put in really what we want to put in, and I don't believe in sort of cliches of you shouldn't put this in, you shouldn't put that in. We've got ivy growing up the trunk of the Trachycarpus. That Trachycarpus has actually been stripped there. And moving on over here, this is well, obviously the hellebores are absolutely stunning this time of year. And here's some of the echiums. Now, most of the echiums have actually been dug up at the beginning of the winter because they probably wouldn't have taken the cold. There are a few that have actually survived, the little tiny ones here and the slightly bigger ones, but we dug up about 500 seedlings here, and they're in our polytunnels, which we'll see later on. Now on these echiums, this one is about to flower, even though it's a cold March day. This has got the early signs of flowering, and almost by the day you can see the plant grow. Now underneath here we'll see a lovely trunk, and the way we actually prune these really is just to take off the bottom leaves. It can be a little bit of an irritant to the skin, but so you take these off really, and it grows at such a rapid pace that it takes some to keep up with this. But I mean, the compost bin is very pleased to have this amount of leaves on it. You've been doing this every few days. And when this starts flowering, which should really be any day now, it will just go up to a 12-foot flowering spike, when also with hundreds of thousands of seeds that will spread themselves all around here, so we'll be able to have the Echium seedlings coming up next year.